Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host and researcher, Louisa. Today is Friday, December 19th, 2025. This is GoldFish Report number 1187. And this is a current events report. Uh, there's want to thank everybody who's joining me, who's welcome. Oh, by the way, Mark is out sick. He was supposed to be here tonight, but he has the flu, and unfortunately, he is not going to be able to join us. But I want to welcome everyone who's joining us. Like Dan just walked in there, and he just popped in. So I want to take leave off. I want to pick up where I left off last week regarding this paper. Actually, it's an article that I wrote. Well, it's a paper, but I'll be publishing as an article um, Mm. with regard to uh, cryptocurrency, with regard to CBDCs. And the question really is this financial freedom, or are CBDCs digital prison? And I think we'll really review a little bit more of this. Right now, I'm going to go over this and get right into it. So I'm going to screen share this. Let's see, make sure you can see that. And just check it, getting my settings squared away. Sorry about this. Okay, so can you see what this is? Oh, this is nothing. This is not what I wanted to share. Let me try that again. I'm a little bit under the weather myself, trying to fight it best I can. Okay, this is the page that I wanted to share. Sorry about that. Anyway, so hi everybody. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm sorry that Mark's not here. He was supposed to be here, but he is sick this week. Unfortunately, he has the flu, and I'm getting this I don't know, having something, probably chemtrail cough. That's the new name, right? Isn't it? Okay, so let's screen share this. Sorry. Here we go again. I'm going to do it like that. So, okay, so where we left off last week, where we were talking about stable coins, and this is a mystery to a lot of people. So there's a lot of new technology and a lot of new terminology, and we're going to, go over it in the most simple, simplest terms. There's a lot more detail to a lot of this, but right now, this is just enough to get a good concept of what it is that that this means. So stable coins for cross-border payment. So stablecoin refers to a class of digital currencies that are relatively stable in terms of their price. So stablecoins offer instantaneous processing and security of payments, as many cryptocurrencies do. They also offer stability with respect to their parity against fiat currencies. Excuse me, the aim of the Genius Act is to regulate stablecoins like Tether's USDT and PayPal's Circle and USDC. So these are stablecoins, and these are cryptocurrency tokens that are pegged to a fiat currency value, um, like the USD, US dollar, and or exchange traded commodities such as precious metals or other cryptocurrencies. According to a White House publication about the passage of the Genius Act, this law will provide regulatory framework for the United States to lead the global digital currency revolution. According to this publication, the Genius Act prioritizes consumer protection, strengthens the US dollar reserve currency status, which is very important, as we talked about in our first part, um, and bolsters our national security. It will make America the undisputed leader in digital assets. So this was a quote from this paper, but it looks more like, I have to be honest, I mean, it does look more like uh, there's, so we're going to get into who issues stable coins. And it says it has more consumer protection, but what this bill does is it actually backs the stablecoin issuer. And we're going to talk about who the issuer is in just a minute. Like who issues stablecoins. President Trump is determined to maintain the US dollar dominance as the world's reserve currency and states he can achieve this through generating increased demand for US debt, right? And by requiring stablecoin issuers to have 100% reserve backing with liquid assets, like the USD or short-term treasuries. So today, stablecoin issuers mainly are financial institutions. They are the 18th largest buyer of U.S. government debt. Nobody else wants our debt. Nobody's buying our debt. They know we don't pay the bills. Nobody wants to buy our debt. It's not going well, right? So the Japanese carry trade, this is the reverse Japanese carry trade, and they want all of the money back. Um, so this is how that's going. So the stablecoin issuers, like I said, are mainly financial institutions, are the 18th largest buyer of the government debt, holding over 120 billion in treasury bonds. This graph below in figure 8 illustrates the key players and how the revaluation of currencies and backing of the ISO 222, there's a typo in that. It should be 222, not 2022. That's what happens when you're dyslexic. Um, It's International Standard Organization, and it's 20022 is the correct uh, protocol compliant. So it's called the ISO 222 compliant cryptocurrencies with precious metals will form the foundation for the new monetary system. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. I hope everybody can see this. I don't think I can make it any bigger at this. Okay, so as you can see, uh, let's just keep talking about this here. No, that's not it. Stable coins. This is it. So here you have gold, and you can see how it says here stable coins. I know it's going to be hard to see for some people. You're not going to be able to see it, and I apologize for that. Stable coins. So it's a price of cryptocurrency or token is pegged to a commodity like dollar, metals, or other assets. So that's what a stable coin is supposed to be, right? It's approved. Stellar XLM and Ripple XRP are the ones who are approved by the IMF, International Monetary Fund. Also, you have the Basel III and IV banking regulations, which are international regulatory accord that introduced a set of reforms designed to mitigate risk within the international banking sector by requiring banks to maintain certain leverage ratios and keep certain levels of reserve capital on hand. The Tier 1 asset clarity and market liquidity management. So here you have Ripple, who is the parent company of XRP, and you can see that this is backed by gold. Let me tell you, XRP is going to play a massive role in this new financial system. Think of it this way. Think of how currently you have countries that, well, the world reserve currency has always been the US dollar. So most countries have bought our US dollar because they needed to pay their bills with it in terms of, well, let's see, we had a deal with Saudi Arabia to, OPEC, right? To we provided military protection to Saudi Arabia in exchange for really making the world buy oil from Saudi Arabia in US dollars. So it's already out there. There's already a lot of USD out there. But what's changing is that you're not going to need US dollars to do this settlement any longer. So the SWIFT system, I think always, was dealing with currency exchanges, but people you know, it's cross-border settlement. That's what SWIFT does. But it's antiquated. It's going to be replaced. It's outdated. Here you have XLM, okay, one-to-one peg ratio. It's really like having a $20 bill or $100 bill. I mean, right? You have a piece of paper. It can represent anywhere from one to, well, for most people, one to $100, right? But the big banks, the globalists, the institutions, they don't use little change like that. They use larger numbers to do their settlements, right? You have banks, you can have like a Bank of England needing to reconcile transactions for the day with, Bank of New York. So that could be like $600,000 for the day, right? In terms of everybody's transactions that had to go through those banks, just as an example. So you would have like $600,000. So those are huge numbers, and it really makes no sense to when those are always the not, the bills are always that high, it makes no sense to pay with something of a 1, 5, or 10 denomination, right? So in theory, well, not in theory, but in fact, in actuality, what's happening is the gold is going to back the XRP because it's of a higher value because they're working with larger numbers. And then for the people to do peer-to-peer, it's called. Um, like if we wanted to send each other money, like from here to anywhere in the world, like my friend in China, right? I could send China. Maybe that's not a good example. That's banned in fact, it's banned in China. You can't have CBD. You can't have digital currencies. It's banned. So I don't know what just happened. What on earth just happened? Am I still even recording? Live streaming? Oh my God. That is so weird. I'll tell you, I've had some really weird problems with this technology today. Very, very weird. Let's move on. So, does this mean stablecoins come to the rescue? So, the Genius Act gives investors a government guarantee of stablecoins, which the taxpayer will ultimately have to fund if it fails. Oh, see? See? That's what it really does. It protects the issuer. Okay, thank you for letting me know you're still there. I don't know what happened. Did it just like black out? Is that what happened? Okay, so it seems that the Trump administration is setting the stage for publicly funded bailouts of stablecoin issuers, and not everyone is happy about this. The Genius Act has also caught the attention of international leaders such as Anton. I'm not going to really try to pronounce this last name, Yakov. Uh, a senior advisor to Russian President Vladimir Putin, recently accused the U.S. of positioning itself as the arbiter over crypto and gold markets to address declining trust in the dollar. He says Washington will use this influence to devalue its debt by moving it into stablecoins. Additionally, he said the U.S. will reset its debt at the world's expense by driving everyone into the cryptocurrency cloud. So, other opponents of this idea state that you cannot just magically make $37 trillion of debt just disappear. So, they are quick to note that the U.S. government doesn't own any stable coins, nor do they or the central banks issue the stable coins, but rather private entities and financial institutions are the issuers. Because of these and other concerns, Russia is turning to BRICS for an alternative to US dominance, sparking what some say is the beginning of a new currency war. And that's exactly what BRICS just did. BRICS just launched their digital currency that is now in the test phase, and it's backed by, get this, a basket of currencies and gold. So not backed by debt. So that should really be a clue. Like I'm giving you a clue there. You hear me? That you need to really think about this carefully and position yourself because I'm not a financial advisor, but you should research this and position yourself accordingly, okay? That's just like a red flag to me, and to a lot of people. Stablecoin issuers have to compete with each other, not just domestically, but internationally as well for market share for the use of their stablecoin. So the XRPL, XRP Ledger, is a platform that is a method of payment. International, it's permissionless. It issues Issuers compete for market share on a fair and level playing field. Stablecoins backed by debt, the RLUSD, Circle, Tether, tokenized treasuries. Those will be backed by real world assets. So get used to seeing RWA uh, written in financial papers and or when people mention RWAs, that's real world assets because they will be tokenized. It will be backed by both. And BRICS has just launched theirs. So you have some foreign countries, so you have some BRIC nations who are issuing their own stable coin, which is backed by gold. So a stable coin is kind of, works in a similar way to a cryptocurrency. The whole question here is this is very early on. Notice how nobody, like the actual officials are not talking about this. We have other people who have actually Literally, it's quite interesting. Who's the one who said it? I think it was Versan. He's really a great Black Swan capitalist. He does a great podcast on these financial information on all this financial and especially crypto news. And he essentially said that I don't know if he was quoting somebody or if this was his own opinion. Maybe it was Gregory Mannarino. And if you know Gregory Mannarino, boy, you wouldn't be surprised. Because he's very, very upfront with his opinion about the current financial situation. He basically said that President Trump has turned the Oval Office into a digital casino. His sons did purchase they talk about insider trading. I mean, honestly, I knew their sons purchased this Ondo Financial. It was announced. Most people just don't pay attention to this, but it had been announced a few months ago. Now Ondo is an important component of the infrastructure of this new system. So they knew that, and they bought like I think it was a couple of million tokens or not tokens, but shares, tokens, whatever it is. Anyway, let's keep going. So I thought it was interesting, right? Like what an analogy to refer to Donald Trump, you know, former casino owner, now turning the White House into a crypto casino. I mean, it's an interesting way of looking at it. So what we have is stablecoin is, oh, don't tell me it's frozen again. Okay. Stablecoins as a monetary equivalent. Well, the Fair Labor Standards, and this is from Vincent Scott. He's a another crypto analyst on X. So I like to give people credit from where I get my research from. And he says the Fair Labor, according to the Fair Labor Standards Act, mandates that compensation from employers to employees be in unrestricted cash. That's a very important term, or equivalent. So the Genius Act outlined what a stablecoin is. Its backing must be one-to-one by highly liquid assets, tokenized treasuries or fiat, for example. If the Fair Labor Standards Act states equivalent, and the Genius Act, which defines stablecoins, employers can offer its employees stablecoins as an equivalent, unrestricted, meaning it cannot be programmed. Now, that's a very key term when it comes to any kind of digital currency. You want to know whether it's programmable because that really, will ultimately be the enslavement mechanism is the programmable, which is what China has, and we'll get into that. So it cannot be programmed, so they cannot tell you where or how or when to spend it. In fact, in China, it's being reported that they give you because some of this is leading to universal basic income, and then they're going to say, well, you're going to have to spend this by X date, or you're going to lose it. So I think it's time now that before this and all the regulation is actually finished. See, this is what's not fair. They're not telling the people, they're telling people that they're going to do these things and but they don't explain what they are, and they certainly don't. They give no education. It's a complete transformation in the financial industry, and our government has done nothing to prepare people for it. Nothing to educate people on what it means. And then how can then we weigh in on the policy making of it if most people don't even understand it? Okay, so, again, this is the world we live in. So economic freedom is backed by our judicial system, hopefully, but I wouldn't count on it. And we transition from a debt-backed financial system to an asset-backed monetary system. Well, in theory, the Federal Reserve cannot issue CBDCs since programmable money is banned in America via the Genius Act. Thus, no curtailing of our rights or economic freedoms. But once the Clarity Act is passed, it will settle rules for tokenization that will help back our stablecoins by real-world assets. There's that RWA again, and compete with countries offering stablecoins backed by gold. That's the truth. I mean, it will fail. If it's not competitive, it will fail, right? The Clarity Act is determining everything about the digital assets and the rules behind tokenization. It is currently in the Senate Banking and Agriculture Committee and is expected to pass in early 2026. And unfortunately, they could not get it done before the Christmas holiday season, and unlikely it will be, before the end of the year at all, right? So let's keep going. So digital. Now we're going to talk about digital asset tokenization, and this is really where they have created a whole new stock market, digital stock market, um, through the Stellar network. Uh, and this is basically everything in the real world is going to be tokenized. I mean, if it's physical, it's going to be tokenized, which means you can own a piece of it if you buy a tiny piece of it, whatever. But remember that you have to give something of a real world asset in order to purchase that, and then you no longer own that. So, you just have to really be careful. Let's talk about digital asset tokenization. So, asset tokenization refers to the process by which an issuer creates a digital token on a blockchain or other form of distributed ledger to represent digital or physical assets, such as stocks, bonds, bank deposits, funds, or even real estate, thus turning financial assets into crypto assets. Blockchain technology guarantees that once you buy tokens representing an asset, no single authority can erase or change your ownership, making it entirely immutable. It's a digital, unique, and anonymous representation of a real thing. Hence, a new digital stock market is currently being built, as I mentioned, and will emerge as any real-world asset can be tokenized on the digital stock market. These include corporations, real estate, equities, commodities, intellectual property, bonds, collectibles, and even carbon credits. So the point of this is to represent full or partial ownership, improving liquidity, and this is their argument, okay? And accessibility. So this is to give the unbanked an opportunity to participate in, financial transactions, right? This is their argument. I'm just saying, you know, in fact, everything in the real world that has any value can be and might just be tokenized, fulfilling the World Economic Forum President Klaus Schwab's statement, "You'll own nothing and be happy." Mm. There must be safeguards protecting ownership and financial freedom in the United States to prevent a dystopian scenario like the one depicted in the book 1994. Here we have crypto banking regulations. So new crypto banking regulations also had to be created to support this new technology. International Standard Organization, as I mentioned before, and here thankfully I did enumerate it correctly, created the ISO 222, which is essentially a software that allows banks to communicate with each other on the blockchain. Cryptocurrency has to be ISO 222 compliant to operate on the blockchain. So coins that are not ISO 222 will, as the analysts have said, will go to zero because they will not be allowed to participate in the blockchain economy. So the chart below, Figure 9, depicts the ISO 222 compliant cryptocurrencies and their role on the blockchain. So two digital currencies that I have mentioned um, in the past are the Ripple's native cryptocurrency is XRP, and Stellar Networks' native cryptocurrency is the Stellar Lumen or XLM. Both Ripple and Stellar enable faster and more efficient cross-border payments relative to correspondent banking. So, however, they differ in that the former aims at improving cross-border settlement between international banks, whereas the latter aims at providing low-cost cross-border payment financial services to end users and the unbanked population. These two cryptocurrencies will form the new two-tier financial system, the XRP for institutional use and the XLM for person-to-person use. And I know I can't make this larger. I apologize. Actually, um, yeah, I think I can actually. Let me stop sharing for a second and I'll open up this graph. Have this graph handy here. Hang on a second. Because I think it's definitely worth noting. It's worth kind of studying here. So I will open it up and screen share. Here we go. So this is it. This is ISO 220 or ISO compatible tokens in their real world finance. So you have XRP, which we talked about. Its parent company is Ripple, the Ripple XRPL. XRPL, leading ISO 222 adoption with fast, low cross-border payments and strong banking partnerships. XLM Stellar focuses on remittances and financial inclusion with partnerships like MoneyGram and Circle supporting the USDC on its network. Algo is called Algorand, and it's used in national digital currency projects known for speed, sustainability, and ISO-aligned architecture. Then you have the XDC network, targets trade finance with tokenized invoices and nearly fee-less transactions used in global supply pilots. QNT is Quant Network, which enables blockchain interoperability via Overledger, connecting legacy finance systems to blockchain infrastructure. IOTA is for short for MIOTA, designed for the Internet of Things, supporting real-time, fee-less microtransactions in smart city and industrial use cases. Did you hear that? Smart city. Yes, it's coming. And HBAR or Hedera is enterprise focused with top tier governance, powers CBDC pilots, and offers ISO ready consensus services. This was produced by X Financeable, and we appreciate him doing that and giving him a plug for that as well. So, just as a matter of fact, right? Uh, because I mean, there's a lot of people that put this stuff together, and I'm just pulling it together and trying to make sense of it so that everybody can, um, so everybody can uh, learn, along with us, along. So as we said, the XLM is for person to person use. So President Trump is so committed to being the crypto capital of the world that he has issued an executive order to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve and United States digital asset stockpile on March 6, 2025. The order states this order creates a strategic Bitcoin reserve that will treat Bitcoin as a reserve asset. The strategic Bitcoin reserve will be capitalized with Bitcoin owned by the Department of Treasury that was forfeited as part of a criminal or civil forfeiture proceedings. Gee, I wonder what he could be talking about there. Hint, hint, right? It also established a U.S. digital asset stockpile consisting of digital assets other than Bitcoin owned by the Department of Treasury that was also forfeited in criminal or civil asset forfeiture proceedings. So the executive order also assures a ban on central bank digital currencies, which are programmable and can be linked to a social credit system, much like what we have seen in China. In fact, President Trump issued a statement of administrative policy regarding HR 191, which is called Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. So, which he claims will protect every American's financial privacy and constitutional liberties. So the relevant part of that reads, taking measures to protect Americans from the risks of central bank digital currencies, which threaten the stability of the financial system, individual privacy, and the sovereignty of the United States, including by prohibiting the establishment, issuance, circulation, and use of a CBDC within the jurisdiction of the United States. However, the global powers are hell-bent on instituting CBDCs globally. Christina Lagarde, the director of the IMF, International Monetary Fund, has stopped short of calling China's social credit biometric surveillance system an example of success, but has stated in Vietnam is presently doing a pilot project using CBDCs as well. However, not everyone in Vietnam welcomes this new financial biometric surveillance system. So, Vietnam's governance appears to be shifting towards a centralized control, forfeiting privacy and freedom, and likely modeled after China's social credit system that has already been in place for many years. I'm sure you have seen in the news recently, the Vietnamese government has shifted to a mandatory digital ID with biometric scanning for all banking. So those who did not comply had their bank accounts closed and assets seized overnight. It was reported that over 86 million bank accounts were confiscated, though some were inactive accounts. The Vietnamese chose privacy over surveillance, and now many find themselves excluded from society, the economy unable to access funds and participate in society. So, this is the IMF's pilot project, and they are watching very closely to how the people react. In Western nations, the European Central Bank is planning on issuing a digital identity wallet in 2026, with other countries that have already implemented digital IDs, such as Sweden, Norway, India, and others. The UK is also looking at implementing digital ID CBDCs. These systems prioritize control in exchange for convenience or faster travel or other conveniences. The digital ID linked to CBDCs enables extensive surveillance, social credit scoring, compliance enforcement, public shaming, and humiliation, uh, the latter of which is meant as a punishment for those not conforming and as a deterrent to disobedience. More specifically, digital ID CBDCs lead to a loss of privacy where your identity, movements, and transactions are fully traceable. The programmable aspect of CBDCs has led to restrictions on purchasing and selling. Oh, where have we heard that before? Oh, right, the mark of the beast. You can't buy or sell without it. Just thought I would add that in there. Yeah, so it has led to restrictions on purchasing and selling, limited spending, and setting expiration dates on funds, as I mentioned earlier. So protesters could find their assets seized or frozen, just as the Canadian government did recently to the truckers who protested the unreasonable COVID restrictions. Vietnam may be the proverbial shot across the bow, warning that the surveillance state has expanded beyond the borders of China and may be coming to a nation near you. Although President Trump has signed laws to ban CBDCs in the United States, however, under the current geopolitical tensions and numerous regional wars that have ignited, should the U.S. suffer another 9/11 or Pearl Harbor attack, the president would have to declare a national emergency, which would give him broad powers to restrict our civil liberties and take control of commerce by implementing strict government edicts like the Patriot Act did in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. The U.S. has recently rolled out the Real ID Act now, and FedNow centralizes identity and finance. Though they are not calling it a CBD, but it appears that they can functionally, they can in a similar they can function in a similar manner though. So they will say it is for our own good or tell us it's for our security, and overnight our freedoms and way of life will vanish, and they do have to find a way to sell it to us. And this is really kind of getting to my next topic, but I will, hopefully we'll get through this a little bit quicker. So once our freedoms disappear, folks, we may never get them back, and as is usually the case in communist or fascist governments. Right now, we're having a real battle within our government, within the military, within the government. As you know, as we reported recently, that we have members of Congress calling out to our military to disobey orders from the commander in chief. Mm. So, they are trying to they are trying to cause division within the ranks of the military and to take some of that military with them and create, I don't know, another government or another military. I really just, it's amazing that there's not more people who are outraged about this. There's not more people who, feel like that they feel compelled to protect this country for their children and grandchildren. All right, CBDCs are programmable, so they can turn it on or off depending on your social credit score and trace where you go and what you do and with whom. They can dictate what you buy, what you can spend, and automatically deduct money for fines for infractions you commit in real time, such as jaywalking. Yeah, it is well known and established that China has installed over 250 million surveillance cameras in major population areas throughout the country. They use facial recognition technology to track a person's whereabouts in real time. For many in China, those who are fed up with government extreme surveillance and conformity have found themselves unable to participate in society, work, or have lost their homes and have become homeless due to low social credit scores or SCS. Apps on phones of people with high social credit scores show when they're in the vicinity of a person with low social credit scores. So they avoid associating with them, isolating them, right? And because if they did, doing so would risk a drop in their own social credit score. This is crazy. It just is so crazy. So public billboards also shame them by displaying their faces, names, and social credit score. Critics say China's social credit system goes too far, but many say it helps them distinguish who is trustworthy and who is not. Some say China's social credit system emerged due to a lack of trust as small familiar villages saw an influx of transient city dwellers who relocated to more rural villages to raise their families, but whose trustworthiness was questionable. And with a country with over 1 billion people, all of whom are competing for access to the same limited resources, one can argue, maybe, that it may be out of necessity that a social credit system was created. Though really gauging how the Chinese people feel about it is difficult to ascertain, since criticizing the government can result in a drop in your social credit score. So they can't talk openly. Fortunately, right? However, in the USA, where our population is a mere one-third fraction of China's 1 billion population, the need for trustworthiness will not pass as a bona fide reason to implement such a system. As you can see, our country is full of so much corruption that that would just be disqualified right off the top, wouldn't it? Uh, we could see this is a problem, but thus, if the plan is in the US is to implement a similar technology, it would have to be presented incrementally as a matter of convenience or safety, which Americans will surely accept because they want convenience and they sure want safety. In fact, the World Health Organization is proposing a Gates-funded global digital ID framework that would link newborns' vaccination records to lifelong tracking through interoperable registries, socioeconomic data, and AI. Folks, this is just a complete it's not going to happen overnight, but they do things incrementally. That's the Fabian Society. That's where they take the policy initiatives, their system. That's a system, right? The Fabian Society provided a system, meaning, it's the sheep in it's the wolf in sheep's, the sheep in wolf's clothing, right? So this is the problem. And we don't notice it because it's so slow, because they do it incrementally. And then it's just too late by the time, it's really fully done. So in conclusion, what are we saying here? The quantum digital age can be an exciting and robust era of innovation, the likes which humanity has never before seen. However, Americans must be more discerning about the technology-driven changes being forced upon us as more and more of our freedoms are disappearing due to compromises um, that we make and whose unintended consequences we may not fully realize. We each have a duty, as outlined in the Declaration of Independence, to uphold the principles, freedoms, and protections of our Constitution. And we may wake up one day and find ourselves living with less and less freedoms and more surveillance and artificial realities that are not how we envision our future. Power must be wielded responsibly, lest we forget our world history. Hmm. And for all good, and for the good of all, not simply for the globalist elite. It is up to we, the people, to protect our children's future from entering a dystopian totalitarianism and a transhuman totalitarianism, totalitarianism. We can only accomplish this through critical thinking and acting responsibly. CBDCs or its equivalent in any form have no place in American society and is antithetical to a decentralized financial system whose goal is more egalitarianism, not less. So the answer to whether programmable CBDCs are financial freedom or digital prison appears to be in who and how they are digitally controlled. So I wanted to share that with you because I spent a lot of time doing this research and putting this together. And if you can position yourself now There has to be a transition. There has to be a changeover from the old system to the new system. So there will be, look, I'll just say this. Analysts have been predicting that there will be a very drastic correction, or call it a crash. Many are equating it. Even Edward Dowd is even, former BlackRock analyst is even equating it to, um, you know, like certainly calling it a depression. Um, and other analysts are as well, financial analysts. Some are saying it's going to be even worse than the Great Depression, than the stock market crash then. And you know what happened then? We have to be careful because remember that the government insisted that they needed to have all the gold back, right? And so they bought it back at, very dirt cheap prices and took everybody's gold. And, look where it is today, right? It's over $4,000 gold. So, uh, could they do that again? If we find ourselves in a warlike scenario, could they do it again? Sure. These are part of these executive privileges that the president gets when he declares, a national emergency or even declaration of war. And one hasn't been formally made yet because, Congress needs to make that declaration. Um, so let me see what else. Oh, what was I going to share with everybody? Yeah, here it is, crypto casino. Yeah. By the way, incidentally, Candace Owens has found herself in big trouble. Finally, right? I mean, she's really been going on a roll there. She is fed information though, obviously from certain sources. But apparently the deep state may have something on her, so we'll see what happens. But it looks like she may be in some hot water, according to sources. Also, according to some sources, Brown University shooting, the guy that did the shooting was an asset, we'll just say, of the intelligence agencies. So this was a person allegedly that was involved in MK Ultra, who was actually working with the White Hat operation. Get this, who was got so the Black Hats got a hold of him, reprogrammed him, and used him to do this shooting, whether it be a false flag, whether it be real, whatever it is. And they're saying this is the same guy who went and shot that plasma fusion professor up in MIT. So we're going to see, because this is all connected, they're saying to um, I guess you would say the bad guys, the traitors in the FBI and Homeland Security. Not saying that they all are, just that there's traitors there. There were people, so they find this information because they find searches and they can go into the search engines and they can find out, what kind of what things were searched at a certain point in time, and then they can trace and find out what was going on with some of these and connect the dots and make, some educated guess, I guess you could say. There's definitely wars going on within our intelligence agencies right now, within the US, a lot of operations, and they are expecting more of these shootings to happen, unfortunately, more false flags. Um, right, right. So, Mark was going to be with us tonight, but he couldn't because he wasn't feeling well. He's got the flu, and apparently I think his wife Barb does too. But Barb had asked me to, um, she had asked to talk about this new trailer that's out from Steven Spielberg. I think, let me see if I can pull that up really quick for everybody. And again, it's like here it is. I'm gonna share this real quick because we do have 15 minutes, and I might end early anyway. But you have to start thinking in a certain way in order to understand what the overall agenda is. Okay, and we just have to get used to doing that. Um, let's see, here we go. So here, check this out. This is the new Steven Spielberg trailer for a movie called Disclosure Day, which is supposed to be in theaters on June 12th. So let me enlarge this here, and you could check it out for yourself.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Today is... Today's...
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
People keep wondering. Encountering the unknown.
They're coming! They're coming!
They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us?
Okay, so waiting for this thing to disappear from my computers. There we go. I don't know why it does that. So that was a trailer for this new movie called Disclosure Day. Doing that, showing that at the end of the report here for Barb, because I know she wanted to talk about it. And the funny thing about this is that you have to understand that uh, there's a lot we don't know. There's a lot that is kept from us. There's certainly a lot of technology that's kept from us, and that's, all. We have another movie, Avatar 3, coming out. I think there's going to be more disclosure showing the public, the masses, uh, as it said, Disclosure Day, disclosing things. But you have to understand, they have that religious component in there showing, how a lot of people are just going to consider them demons, because in the Bible, that's what it does. It considers them demons if you read it a certain way. Yet if you read it another way, um, there's different ways to interpret the Bible. Unfortunately, there probably should only be one, but as you know, there's different points of view. Okay. Now, I'm not saying one's right and one's wrong. That's not what I'm gonna, what I'm talking about is um that I think that, see, the globalists want, they're progressing very quickly with this central bank digital currency and all digital infrastructure. They're progressing very quickly with this. This is record time. And they want to create, so it's going to be a one world currency, which I showed from the cover of The Economist magazine back from 1988, which showed that they were planning on creating a one world currency. So they get what they want because nobody stops them. Nobody stops them, right? So, and how can they stop them anyway? I don't know, but I mean, right now, I mean, you could see a lot happening in Bulgaria. They're not reporting it in the mainstream news in the United States. Bulgaria, everybody came together, millions of people came together and ousted their government. That's what the Declaration of Independence tells us. It has the remedy, and Bulgaria just showed us how to do it. If we open our eyes and look, but no, we're extremely docile in this country. But anyway, they want to have a one world, they want to have a transhumanist world where, there's no individuality anymore, there's no sovereignty, you'll own nothing and be happy. And of course, they want a one world religion. And the best way to sell this one world religion is to say your religion, you know, why would they create this big universe? The last statement made by that nun, and that was very specific to have that nun say that because she represents that spiritual, that that religion, right? Which would have, a problem with this, right? So that religion, um, and she says, why would God create a universe so big and we should think that we're the only ones in it? So what they're doing, in my opinion, is setting up the debate to say, well, all religions, have been adulterated a little bit, or they've been, uh, rewritten, edited, whatever, so that there's really more truth among all of them, and there's really no difference between them, and and this is really the truth, and this is the, world religion, this, that we're going to get behind. So this is what they're trying to do, is kind of start little by little by little, and it's incremental, folks. You're never going to know it. You're never going to realize it unless you start analyzing what the intent is behind everything that they show us. Because you really do. You have to, really, really engage that critical thinking. Let me just stop into my live chat and see how everybody's doing. Am I still live? My goodness, I don't even know if I am. I don't know where it went. Where did it go? Hmm. I'm curious to see what you think. What do you all think? If you could put it in the chat or the live chat, or put it in the comment section, that would be great, because I'd like to know what you think about this. I mean, what better way, right, to have a fake alien invasion than to say, oh, there's, see these aliens, we're not alone. And, so, little by little, they'll be, convincing us that religion is, here we go, that religion is, been false. It's been it's been, yeah, Karen, I see your comment. All right, now I can see everybody's comment. And I will So what the analysts are all, recommending is obviously to own physical silver and gold. That's the best way. People buy gold to preserve wealth because it is valued so high, and they are going to revalue. I mean, look at silver; it's already over $60. I mean, it's going to go up, and there's reasons why that's happening. I'm not going to get into them. Yes, Joanne, you're right. Hi, Joanne. Nice to see you. And I just want to, hi, Karen. Yeah, I want to say hi to everybody who's in here. Todd is in here, and Lacey. Hi, Lacey. Susan. Yeah. And I know that you're still there. I don't know who that is. Is that Iris or someone with the I? JJ Garcia. I see JJ. Yeah. So Mark will be back probably sometime in January after the holiday, and sorry he couldn't join us. He was sick with the flu, and he was supposed to, but I apologize. So anyway, that's what we've got for tonight. I just want to know what everyone thinks about yeah, look, about the food. Keep some cash at home. That's a good idea. Distilled water, some food, definitely canned food. What do I personally think? No one really asked me, but I'm going to kind of just tell you that from the research that I've done, the economy is going to crash. I do believe that it will. And Trump does have a plan, and he has stated he has a plan. That's why I know it's going to crash. It has to, um, in order to switch over to the new system that's on blockchain. Blockchain, as we talked about in our report last week, is run by a quantum computer. That's why they call it the quantum financial system. It's really kind of the age of quantum. I mean, there's going to be med beds that come out. There's going to be a lot of advanced technology. Um, and unfortunately, the Bible does warn of this false light. So, we have to be careful that that this doesn't, you know, um, beguile us, you know what I mean? And then we fall through, into the beast system. I mean, it already warned us of pharmakia, and not many people remembered that. So some did, though. 25% of the people did. So that's a good sign. At least 25% won't be, you know, affected by the king bars are costly to sell. Buyers say bars have a lot of fraud. So yeah, I'm sure if you're trying to I was trying to read the comments in the comment section. So let me see what else I have before we close up. Um there's going to be more disclosure about super soldiers running psionic operations. I mean, years ago when I first started Goldfish Report, I interviewed a gentleman by the name of Captain Randy Kramer, and Randy had said he was in the 20 and back program. This is really wild stuff that he was talking about then. He was talking about these holographic med beds, which, they were able to regrow limbs, and this was in the United States Marine Corps special section that he claimed he was in, and he was permitted to go public with this information. It's amazing. I'm telling you, you should prepare yourselves because, if UFOs come down, I wouldn't get on them, just as a point of importance there. But there's going to be a lot more information that comes out. But I think, I don't know if people are ready for it. I really don't know. It's really up to the individual and your religious beliefs. But I think they are going to try to sell us a one world religion by trying to disqualify the present religions that we have, saying, oh, well, they were just created, saying what all the conspiracy theorists have been saying about it, being used as a tool for control, which, certainly it was, but it wasn't, supposed to be, right? Um, let's see, what else do we have? Mm, remember that XRP acts as a bridge currency, so it would be kind of like the digital reserve currency, so everybody gets it and gets to use it, like all the countries do. It was never intended for retail, so there will be a buyback at some point. I just hope it's not going to be like the clawback, where they had, the gold, during the Depression. I just hope they don't, do that to us, because that wouldn't be very nice, would it? uh alien projects, all kinds of things about, the maglev underground systems, stuff that we never knew existed. Well, if you watched Goldfish Report for the past 10 years, you would certainly know it existed, because we had, interviewed whistleblowers who told us so. Um, Precious metals are the thing, you have to be and really have cold wallets to put if you're going to buy the crypto, make sure you have cold wallets. This is what the analysts are saying, especially Verson over at Black Swan Capital and his brother. They're really great guys. You should go over there and check that out. Have a Faraday bag to put those wallets in. And definitely have some, get prepared because we don't know when the crash is going to happen. But quite honestly, with um all the wars that are igniting all over the place, I think that we're going, yeah, non-perishable, exactly, Joanne, exactly, and a generator and gasoline. Oh yeah, definitely have that non-perishable food, pastas, tomato sauces that are, sealed in jars, rice, you can get that rice anywhere. Just have some, extra supplies for a little while. I have been hearing that there's going to be from sources that there will be uh at some point there will be this shutdown, even when the internet goes out for a certain period of time, like 3 days or something. there will be there's expected to be these military tribunals being broadcast to show the people. Now, Trump was serious when he put those executive orders in place in his first term when it came to, seizing assets of people involved in crimes against humanity and in corruption. Can you imagine? So it's really funny, though. I mean, it's like at some point, though, I think every day we're just seeing more and more and more about corruption, U.S. aid, you know, um, the Minnesota, Somali, billions of dollars are have been, funneled out of our, system, and the SNAP scam. I mean, it's unbelievable. And this money should be coming back to the people. It should be coming back to Americans so we prosper. And if we don't hold our elected officials accountable, that's what's going to happen. I mean, we're never going to prosper. Our kids are never going to prosper. Generation after generation is just going to be struggle after struggle. So, we have to take responsibility for laying the groundwork for our children and our grandchildren if we want them to have a future. So that's what I've got to say tonight. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Great comments. I see a lot of people in the chat. There's definitely more to the story of cryptocurrency. We go into exchange traded funds, which are called ETFs, and then of course non-fungible tokens, things of that nature, which I'll go into more detail. But these are terms you could always go back and listen to this report again a couple times just to kind of get familiar with the terms. I left the I was screen sharing the paper that I wrote, so you can certainly read along. You could turn the volume off and read at your own, pace. So it's provided for you here, and I'll keep doing this as I have more. Right, Social Security checks sent to. I don't know, folks. I think we just need to be having more. Where's the Doge, dividends? Where's the tariff dividends? Where Trump had promised that. It's just amazing how much money's collected from the American people in taxes, more than we need to be paying, because there's just so much fat. There's so much surplus. There's so much waste. That's why we know there's too much money being paid in. When there's this much waste, then that means we're paying too much money. We're paying too much. So are we going to end income tax? In Florida, Ron DeSantis is trying to do that. So I think we should be, definitely pushing this along. So anyway, next Friday will be the day after Christmas. So I should be here doing a report. It's very little that ever stops me from doing a report. And so from now we have Christmas coming. For those who celebrate, I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And I will see you all next Friday. Until then, have a great weekend. Stay safe. Merry Christmas. And uh, this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report. Thanks for joining me.